This is the story of Emeka, a 14-year-old boy whose life went from sleeping on the streets to sitting in places he never imagined, all because of one act of kindness. Stay with me, because every moment of this story will touch your heart. The city of Lagos never sleeps. At night, the yellow buses still roar down the roads, horns blaring, conductors shouting, and traders chasing the last sales of the day. And there, by the corner of a busy street, sat a boy. His name was Emeka. He had no shoes, no home, and no family left to call his own. His father died in a terrible accident. His mother, who tried to keep them alive by frying akra, later fell sick and passed away. Since then, the streets became his only shelter. He slept on cold concrete floors, and ate only when luck smiled on him. Sometimes he carried heavy loads for strangers at the market just to get a little change. Other times, he went hungry. But there was something special about Emeka, something that made him different from the many children hardened by the streets. Despite his pain, he still carried a kind heart. That evening, as Emeka held his stomach, hoping for food, he noticed something unusual. An old woman was standing on the other side of the road. Her wrapper was dusty, her hands shook as she leaned on a long wooden stick. Her eyes, cloudy and pale. She was blind. The crowd pushed past her. Some shouted insults. Cars honked. Nobody cared. For a moment, Emeka sat still. He was hungry, tired, and weak. But when he saw the woman's legs trembling in the middle of the noisy street, something inside him said, "Stand up." And he did. He ran toward her. "Mama, don't be afraid," he said. "Hold my hand, I'll help you cross." The woman turned her head slowly, her lips trembling. "My son, will you help me?" "Yes, Mama," Emeka said firmly. He held her fragile hand and guided her carefully across the road. Cars rushed past them. A bus nearly brushed his arm, but Emeka spread himself wide, protecting her. Step by step, they crossed until they reached safety. The old woman stopped, breathed deeply, and whispered, "My child, what is your name?" "Emeka," he replied softly. She touched his cheek and smiled faintly. "You don't know what you have done for me today. May the heavens reward you." But Emeka only bowed his head and returned to his corner. To him, it was just a small act of kindness. He had no idea it was the beginning of his miracle. What happened the next day would shock the entire community and change Emeka's life forever. The next morning, Emeka sat on his usual crate, trying to shake off the hunger in his belly. His stomach growled loudly, but he ignored it. He was used to it by now. Just then, a black SUV pulled up in front of him. Two men stepped out, well-dressed and serious-looking. Emeka's heart raced. Had he done something wrong? Were they police? One of the men walked up to him and asked, "Are you Emeka?" Emeka froze. How did they know his name? "Yes," he answered nervously. "Madam wants to see you," the man said. "Which madam?" Emeka asked, confused. "You will know soon. Follow us." Fear gripped him, but something inside told him to trust. He followed them into the car. For the first time in years, Emeka sat inside a vehicle that wasn't a rickety Danfo bus. The leather seats felt strange beneath his thin frame. The SUV drove past busy streets, past places Emeka had never dared to enter before, until they reached a grand compound in Ikoyi. When the gates opened, Emeka's eyes widened. He saw a massive mansion, tall palm trees, and security guards standing by. He had never seen such wealth in his life. They led him into the compound. And there, under the shade of a mango tree, sat the old woman he had helped the day before. Emeka gasped. The old woman was no longer dressed in dusty clothes. Instead, she wore fine lace, with gold jewelry shining softly against her skin. Several maids stood by her side, waiting for instructions. "Emeka, my son," she called, her voice gentle but commanding. He stepped forward slowly, confused. "Mama, it's you." She smiled. "Yes. It is me. Yesterday, you thought I was just a helpless blind woman. But today you see me as I truly am." Emeka looked around in shock. The woman continued, "My name is Madam Ifeoma Okafor. I own one of the largest companies in Lagos. Sometimes, I disguise myself and walk the streets, to test people's kindness. Most look away. Some insult me. But you," she pointed at him with trembling hands, "you stopped. You helped me. You risked yourself in the middle of traffic, when you had nothing to gain. That is true humanity." Emeka's legs felt weak. He didn't know whether to kneel, to cry, or to run. "Mama, I didn't know," he stammered. She nodded. "That is why it was pure. And because of what you did, your life will never be the same again." The maid stepped forward with new clothes, shoes, and food. But Madam Ifeoma wasn't done. "From today," she declared, "you will live here with me. You will eat, you will go to school, and you will have a future. I will be your mother from now on." Emeka burst into tears. For years, he had cried himself to sleep on the streets, believing nobody cared. Now, in just one night, everything had changed. The maids took him inside, bathed him, and dressed him in fine clothes. For the first time in years, he ate a full meal, rice, stew, chicken, and even juice. He ate until he could eat no more, then leaned back, tears streaming down his face. He whispered to himself, "Is this real? Or am I dreaming?" That night, he slept in a soft bed, under a roof, covered by a blanket warmer than the cold concrete floor he once knew. And from that day forward, Emeka's life took a turn he never expected. But wait, his story didn't end there. What Emeka didn't know was that this new life would test him in ways he had never imagined. For when blessings come suddenly, so do challenges. The struggles of adjusting to a rich lifestyle. Jealousy from Madam Ifeoma's relatives. A shocking moment where Emeka must prove his loyalty again. And drama, like it's being told to an audience who must stay till the end. The news spread quickly inside Madam Ifeoma's household. A strange boy, from the streets, now lives in the mansion. Some servants whispered, "Who is he? Why would Madam bring a homeless child here?" Others frowned with jealousy. But Emeka paid no mind. He was too grateful, too overwhelmed, to think of gossip. Every morning, he woke up early, cleaned his room, and thanked God for the second chance he had been given. Madam Ifeoma watched him closely. She was a woman of wisdom, and she knew that sudden wealth could spoil a person's heart. But Emeka remained humble. One evening, she called him to sit by her side. "My son," she said, "I want you to remember something. Kindness is not about how much you give, but how much love you carry when you give. Never lose that heart of yours. It is what brought you here." Emeka nodded, his young eyes glistening. "Mama, I will never forget." But not everyone in the family believed he deserved to be there. Madam Ifeoma had a nephew named Chike. He was 21, spoiled, and arrogant. He believed he was the rightful heir to everything Madam owned. When he heard that a homeless boy was now living in the mansion, eating the same food, and even wearing fine clothes, his heart burned with jealousy. One night, he confronted Emeka in the garden. "Street rat," he sneered. "Don't think because my aunt brought you here, you belong here. This is my family's house. One day, she will throw you back into the gutter where you came from." Emeka stood quietly, looking down. He didn't reply. Chak shoved him. Why are you silent? Are you too good to speak to me? Emeka shook his head. I don't want trouble. I'm only grateful to Madam for her kindness. Chak smirked. We shall see how long that lasts. From that day, Chak made it his mission to make life hard for Emeka. He spread lies, mocked him in front of others, and even tried to convince Madam Ifeoma that Emeka was pretending to be good. But no matter what Chak did, Emeka remained humble, respectful, and patient. One afternoon, Madam Ifeoma gave Emeka some money. Take this and go to the market. Buy foodstuff and bring me back the change. It was the first time she had ever sent him on such an errand. Chak saw his chance. He followed Emeka secretly. At the market, after buying the items, Emeka held the remaining money tightly. Chak stepped out from the crowd. Emeka, he said slyly, that money, nobody will know if you keep some for yourself. Think about it. You've been poor all your life. Why return it all? Emeka looked at him calmly. Because the money is not mine. And stealing would make me forget who I am. Chak laughed coldly. Fool. You will regret this. When Emeka returned home, he handed Madam Ifeoma every coin. She smiled deeply, though she said nothing. But later that night, as she prayed in her room, tears rolled down her face. Thank you, Lord. This boy is pure. He is the son I never had. Weeks passed. Emeka continued to prove himself, polite, hardworking, and kind to everyone, even those who hated him. Then one Sunday afternoon, Madam Ifeoma gathered her family in the large sitting room. The chandeliers glowed, and the air was tense. Her relatives sat, curious. Chak leaned back smugly, thinking his aunt would finally announce him as her heir. But Madam Ifeoma's voice was firm. Family. I am not getting younger. I need someone I can trust to inherit my company and wealth. Someone with a good heart, who will use it for others, not just for themselves. That person is Emeka. The room exploded in shock. What? Chak shouted, leaping to his feet. A street boy. Over me? This is madness. Others murmured in disbelief. But Madam Ifeoma raised her hand. Silence. Emeka may not be of my blood, but he showed me love when he didn't know who I was. When all of you ignored me, insulted me, or only chased after my money, he was the one who reached out with nothing in return. That is the true mark of a son. Emeka's eyes filled with tears. He knelt before her. Mama, I don't deserve this. I only did what was right. She touched his head. And that is why you deserve it. But my friends, when blessings come, so do enemies. Chak was not about to accept defeat. He began plotting something dangerous, something that would put Emeka's life in danger. That night, Chak stormed into his room, his mind boiling with rage. How can Auntie choose that boy over me? A street rat, he hissed, pacing back and forth. He picked up his phone and called one of his reckless friends. We need to teach Emeka a lesson. Meet me tomorrow night. I'll handle the rest. The next evening, after dinner, Emeka was on his way back from throwing trash at the back of the compound. Suddenly, two shadows jumped from behind the wall. Before he could scream, rough hands grabbed him. Keep quiet, or we'll finish you here, one of them snarled. They dragged him into a corner of the garden, beating him mercilessly. Emeka's lip bled, and his shirt tore apart. Chak stepped forward from the darkness, smirking. So, how does it feel now, golden boy? Auntie may trust you, but you'll never be one of us. This is your warning. Leave this house, or next time, you won't survive. Emeka groaned but kept his voice steady. Do whatever you want, Chike. I will not repay evil with evil. And I will not betray the kindness your aunt showed me. Chike's face darkened with fury. He ordered the boys to beat him harder. But just then, a flashlight shone. Who's there? A guard shouted, running toward them. The boys scattered. Chike slipped away unnoticed, leaving Emeka crumpled on the ground. The guards rushed to Emeka. His face was swollen, but his spirit was unbroken. They carried him inside. When Madam Ifeoma saw him, her heart shattered. My son. Who did this to you? She cried, holding his hand. Emeka shook his head weakly. Mama, I don't know. They were strangers. Please, don't worry. But in her heart, she suspected the truth. She had noticed Chike's jealousy, his cold stares, his constant complaints. She decided to remain silent, for now. Instead, she called the doctor to treat Emeka. For 3 days, he lay in bed, recovering slowly. And every day, Madam Ifeoma sat beside him, feeding him soup, wiping his forehead, and whispering prayers. Your life has value, Emeka, she told him. Never forget that. Those who rise through suffering often shine brighter than those born with silver spoons. Emeka smiled faintly. Mama, I will never forget. Months passed. Emeka healed, grew stronger, and started school. He worked hard, earning the admiration of his teachers. But deep inside, Chike still plotted. One afternoon, Madam Ifeoma fell very ill. The doctor said she needed urgent surgery, and though she had the money, she was too weak to handle the stress of business. She called Emeka and Chike to her bedside. My children, she said weakly, I am entrusting the company's affairs to one of you until I recover. The person must show honesty, wisdom, and care for others. Whoever proves worthy will inherit everything I own. Chike's eyes gleamed with greed. This is my chance. Emeka bowed his head humbly. Mama trusts me. I must not fail her. The next weeks were a battle of character. Chike, given control of some funds, wasted them on parties, new cars, and fake friends. He thought no one would notice. Emeka, however, used the little he was given to pay school fees for orphans, repair broken stalls for traders, and even donate food to widows. Word spread quickly through the city, the boy who was once homeless is now helping others. One morning, Madam Ifeoma's health improved, and she called for a family gathering. Everyone assembled, relatives, staff, even community leaders. Madam Ifeoma rose slowly, leaning on her cane. Her voice was weak but steady. I have watched carefully. And today, I will reveal who is worthy. She looked at Chike first. My nephew, you had every chance. But instead of helping others, you drowned yourself in waste and arrogance. You proved that wealth in your hands would destroy, not build. Chike's face burned red. Then she turned to Emeka. My son, you were tested, and you showed compassion. You remembered where you came from and lifted others. That is the true mark of a leader. And that is why today, before these witnesses, I declare you my heir. Gasps filled the room. Some clapped, others whispered. Chike exploded. This is madness. You are giving everything to a stranger, a beggar. But Madam Ifeoma raised her hand. No. Emeka is no stranger. He is my chosen son. Blood may bind us by birth, but love binds us forever. She took off her gold necklace and placed it around Emeka's neck as a symbol of inheritance. Humiliated, Chike clenched his fists. That night, he made one final attempt. He sneaked into the company office, planning to steal documents and frame Emeka for fraud. But what he didn't know was that Madam Ifeoma had instructed security to watch him closely. The guards caught him red-handed. By morning, the evidence was clear. His wickedness had destroyed him. Madam Ifeoma, heartbroken, told him to leave the mansion and never return. Years passed. Emeka grew into a young man of wisdom and courage. Under Madam Ifeoma's mentorship, he became one of the most respected leaders in Lagos. He never forgot the streets he came from. Every year, he returned to feed the homeless children, build shelters, and sponsor education for those in need. People whispered in awe, a boy who once begged for food now feeds thousands. All because one day, he chose to help a blind old woman. And as Madam Ifeoma grew older, she rested peacefully, knowing she had passed her legacy to the right person. My friends, life is full of surprises. The person you help today may be the key to your tomorrow. Never ignore the chance to do good. Because kindness has a way of returning when you least expect it. And that is the story of Emeka, the homeless boy whose single act of compassion changed his destiny forever. Moral of the story: no matter how small, an act of kindness can transform your life. And that is how the life of a homeless boy changed forever because of one act of kindness. Think about it: if Emeka had ignored that blind old woman, if he had turned away like everyone else, he would still be sleeping on the cold streets of Lagos. But instead, his small decision to help became the door to a destiny bigger than anything he imagined. Now I want to ask you. If life tested you the way it tested Emeka, what would you do? Would you walk past, or would you stretch out your hand? Tell me in the comments, because your answer may reveal more about your heart than you think. And remember, my friends, kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything. Until next time, stay blessed, and never stop doing good.